It is Halloween week, so I'm feeling a little witchy today. Getting my little witch hat on. Got the husband making something in the garage, so you might hear some random stuff, but otherwise, we are making some family favorite gumbo. Now, if you guys know anything about gumbo, you know it's got chicken, it's got sausage. I use smoked ham because I don't have tasso. I'm in Oregon, so it's also got the triad of lovelies: onion, peppers. I use carrots, and then celery. Actually, it's celery, onions, and peppers. That's the holy trinity. It's kind of a southern thing. I also like to put these lovelies in there, if I have them, when I have them. If you know what this is, it's a leek. It's actually got a little bit of that onion and garlic flavor. So it kind of has that element without actually adding garlic. Normally, garlic doesn't go in there. Some people add it, some people don't. I kind of think it gives that flavor profile that I like. So we're going to cut up some vegetables first, and after I slice all these up and slice them and dice them, then we'll go to making the roux. When you slice up your celery, you don't want those end pieces. They're kind of nasty. They don't taste good in anything, so trim those babies off. Get them going. Believe it or not, you guys are in the perfect spot. Usually for leftover stuff, I just get a random dirty bowl, put it over on the side. Usually the leftovers get given to my chickens, or if it was a clean bowl, I would put it in my freezer and make veggie stock later, which also is good in gumbo. So anyway, I'm slicing up these celery pieces. Now when you cook these in a gumbo, which again, gumbo is basically Cajun stew. It's got a little bit of veggies, a little bit of meat, a little bit of love, a little bit of heat. Like how I rhyme that. So anyway, I slice these up. This is kind of my start to the process of making gumbo. Is you want to slice these up pretty small and uniform. Now, one of the things that I like to make sure of is the celery is a little small, on the small side, because my husband is not a fan. So we just want to just slice them up, put them all together, run through them, probably about that size. Again, when you cook anything, the more uniform your slices are, your dicing is, more uniform everything is, better consistency it has in your soups, stews, or stir fries, whatever you're making. The more oddly shaped things are, they just don't cook as evenly. You might have something that's huge cook really slow, and then that small thing cooks really fast, and it's all overcooked, and the big stuff is undercooked. It just never turns out quite right. So anyway, these are all pretty consistently shaped, and as you can see, we're going to throw those in the bowl. We'll put everybody into the party after we're done. And we have these beautiful peppers. I'm going to cut those up, take out the seeds. Well, I don't take out all of the seeds because I like a little bit of that heat. Not that sweet peppers really have a lot of heat, but I just slice those babies off. Again, throw them in that garbage bowl. And then we'll save those for the chickens. because after all, it's a homestead. Everybody's got to eat. Everybody's got to use your recycling, you know, use your scraps, use every piece. My grandfather was a dairy farmer, and I had another grandfather that raised goats and chickens and had a homestead too. Actually, all my grandparents had homesteads. It's weird enough. But they always said that everybody has to pitch in on the family homestead. So that means, you know, the chickens had to give back, the goats had to give back. Everybody had to contribute in some way. And then we also used everything. Like, you know, you had scraps of food. Those got recycled into the compost pile. Or they got boiled down for stock, for veggie stock. Or the bones on your meat actually got boiled down and made into stock as well. I mean, everything has a purpose, and every piece of it does. You know, my Native American roots would have us going to that level when we go hunting. I mean, we would hunt the animal, but then we'd use every part, because why die in vain, you know? Use the pelt for warmth and make a blanket and make, you know, clothes to wear, and use the different parts for different things. Even the vegetables, they have a purpose. So anyway, off that subject, believe it or not, this is the area that my whole family sits and watches me cook. You actually have the same angle that they do when they come over. This is my kitchen stove, and then I have a breakfast bar right there. And they all sit there and watch me cook. I kind of like it when I make things to order, weird enough. I'll make pasta and make each person their own dish. It's kind of fun. But now you get to be part of the family too. Watch me make some gumbo. So now what I'm going to do is just dice these up. I took out, you know, a large portion of seed, but I do leave some seed in here because, like I said, it adds a little bit of that heat, the sweetened heat. And again, I want to kind of just make it somewhat uniform with the sizing that I used when I cut up the celery. Now, believe it or not, I also make étouffée in a similar way. The same kind of ingredients goes in a shrimp étouffée. It's just that it's not a stew. It's more of a sauce that, again, gets put over rice. I don't know if I mentioned that, but we put the gumbo over rice typically. Now, I made the rice in advance, so I have that sitting off to the side. And that'll get put in to a bowl, and then the gumbo will be poured over it, or scooped over it. Makes a really good hearty meal, especially in the winter when days get colder. It's definitely getting colder here in Oregon. So these kind of soups and stews, no matter what you fancy, they always taste good. So anyway, there's my dicing of the peppers. And I'm going to throw all those bad boys in there. Now, I like to put in carrots too. And so these, I think I'm going to rinse them out a bit. Just do a quick rinse. Do these. And mainly I put a few carrots in just for color. Not everybody likes to put carrots in their gumbo, but I think it adds a little bit of flavor. It is sweet because, you know, it's carrots and all. So Just gonna rinse that down. Like every normal mother, yaya, I have dirty dishes in the sink. Oh my goodness. Shoot me no. No. I think I'm all right. I think you'll forgive me if I have dishes in the sink. Because you know what? If you're family, you don't really care. And really, I'm welcoming you into my homestead right now, so you can just consider yourself like family. That means you're probably going to see a few dirty dishes along the way. And I'm okay with it. I'm secure in my yaya-hood. So anyway, we're cutting these up again into those little dicey pieces. It's getting kind of dicey around here. Bad joke. And just slicing those up. I'm doing all these first before getting to that onion because, boys and girls, that's when the tears flow. As soon as we get some of these cut up, we will start on that, and I'll show you all the diced look. I'd say to make a really good gumbo, it takes probably, I don't know, with the dicing of the vegetables, you're looking at maybe hour, hour and a half, give or take. I mean, the longest part is probably cutting up the ingredients and then making the roux. Everything else kind of just cooks itself after that. I mean, honestly, everything is just built up its flavor. That's what makes it good. If you just put water in a pot or you don't cook that roux, it's not going to taste good. So for any of you that don't know what a roux is, it's basically grease and water. It's gravy. Now I know I'm probably upsetting some true Southerners out there, but face it, folks, it's gravy. It's gravy, baby. But it's also got its share of seasonings. It builds up that color. I've always been taught that to make a roux, you want to build it up to where it kind of looks like, I don't know, like chocolate pudding or maybe dog food. My mom used to say, make it look like dog food. But it's a, it's a process that you got to watch. You got to pay attention. You can't just, throw it in there and figure it's going to cook itself. So there's the happy little mixture so far. And then now we're going to get to the teary part. So I'm using a shallot. And you don't have to use a shallot. You could probably use a sweet onion. You can probably use a red onion. You can use yellow onion. It really doesn't matter what kind of onion, I don't think. I use what I got. And sometimes I have this, and sometimes those onions are overgrown in the cellar or in the boxes out there. One thing you got to make sure of is that you store these root vegetables right. You don't want them getting all nasty and slimy, and when they start growing little shoots off of them, well, they're ready to go in the ground. And with it being wintry and getting cold out, most of these root vegetables will just settle right down with the weather. So again, you want to dice these up to where they're diced in about uniform. I'm glad I got the veil over my face so you don't see me crying as I chop this onion. It's not too bad, this onion. It's a little spicy, but not all that bad. Whew, when you get down to that one part, yeah, baby. All right, let's make sure that these are diced up pretty good. Now, everybody's got their secrets for how you want to cut up an onion. Some say, oh, put a spoon in your mouth. Some say, just don't breathe out of your mouth. Some try to say, don't wash your hands, or do wash your hands. I'll tell you what, after all this, I'm washing my hands. Because, boy, that was spicy. All right, last but not least. So, this, my friends, is a leek. This is the roots to the leek. The best thing you could do with roots like this is literally just drop them in water. In a few days, give or take, this thing will start sprouting, and you could throw it in your garden, or you can just set on the windowsill and cut things off of it when it's ready. Now with these leeks, I don't use the green parts, so those go away. And all I do is cut it down the middle, make sure that it's clean. There is dirt that gets in between that stuff. And I slice it basically kind of like I do an onion. I cut it in half and another quarter, and then I slice it up. These are basically frying vegetables. These are going to fry down and get translucent. Now, nope, I never said I was a professional chef, but I've been cooking for my family and for other people for probably, oops, I didn't want to throw that there. I've been cooking for roughly 35 years. So if you figure about 35 years of cooking for your family and for other people, been on a cooking show, been on MasterChef. Nope, I didn't go all the way through. The producers, for some reason, didn't think I have a personality. Well, one that they want on their show. I'm all right with it. Secure in my womanhood to know that I probably do better cooking at home anyway. But being a cook and not a chef has its advantages. I can do some crazy things that other people might not see as proper, like wiping your hand on your face in the kitchen. I'm cooking for my family. Not that I'm going to have the cat sit on the counter or not wash my hands before I cook, because I want my family to be safe as well. So anyway, there's all my dicing work. Now that I've gotten the vegetables done and out of the way, the next step for me is going to be cutting up the meat. Now I will say that if you're going to be cutting up meat, if you're going to be cutting up any meat, any raw meat, you want to do it separately from your vegetables. This is why cutting the vegetables first is probably a lot wiser. You don't want to cross-contaminate anything. So, I'm going to just be cutting up some chicken breast. Now, normally people will make a gumbo with dark meat and white meat, just to give it that flavor. But this is what I had, so this is what we're using. That also ends up happening. So I like to cut it in little diced up pieces like this and toss it in a bowl. I just slice it all up, and I'm going to throw it in that bowl with some seasoning, because once I'm ready for it, I'm going to be cooking it up and then making the roux from that. Nope, I don't make my roux from scratch. Well, I do make it from scratch, but I don't make it just in a plain pan. I like to get some flavors and then stir those in there when I make the gravy roux, because it makes it just taste better. We, again, are building up flavors and making it taste good. So I'm getting this all cut up in little slicey dicey pieces. Let me see. Now I have a smoked boneless ham here, that what I'll end up doing is cutting that up after all is said and done, and I got the roux in and I got the good flavors done. What I'll end up doing is adding that in afterwards. And I'm actually using an Instapot because I like to cook it all together and let it marry those flavors up. After I've made the roux, after I've made the stew and put it all together, it helps cook everything up. So one of the things that I like to use on the chicken is some of this Cajun Life chicken rub, or Slap Your Mama, or Tony Chachere's, again, or whatever you got. Whatever kind of Cajun seasoning that's actually from Louisiana. Now this one, and Slap Your Mama is from Louisiana. And then chicken rub is actually from Eunice, a guy in Eunice, Louisiana. So Cajun Life is the way to do it. And then I like to add the filet. And gumbo filet is probably a main ingredient to all this. So you want to get yourself some gumbo filet, and you're going to be putting that in there. It's basically sassafras grass. And I put a little bit of that on my chicken before it goes in and gets cooked up. And I also end up adding that to my final result after the fact. Here's a bit more chicken. This one is froze up a bit. Cut this baby up, so, and I'll be right back. All right, y'all. I'm gonna mix this up a little bit in here. Kind of give it some bready love. All right. Add a little bit more seasoning on here. Kind of just coat that a little bit, kind of mix it. Gives it a little love. So we have both our chicken and our veggies here. Okay, y'all. Here's the next step to this process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my saute. And I'm going to cut up some of this smoked ham. Now, some people, that's the pot starting up. Some people take, when they make their gumbo, they'll make it with tasso, or they'll make it with andouille sausage or some sort of Cajun sausage. Kind of gives it that spicy flavor. I like to use smoked ham. Tasso is also a smoked ham from Louisiana. I like to use the smoked ham because it gives it that smoky, rustic flavor that I really like. Now, my husband does a mean smoked ham, I'm telling you. I will use that stuff for days. So good. So what I'm gonna do initially here is I'm gonna be browning this ham, any kind of sausage. This is usually how I start out my gumbo, is I'll take the sausage and I'll brown it up, or I'll take the ham and I'll brown it up a little bit in the roux, and then I'll brown the meat, and I'll get that nice char on there and little scribblies. Okay, chop this up and then set up the next level. All right, y'all. So next step, now that we've cut all the ham up, we are going to start in on this roux. Now, I don't know if I should just bring you over here. Okay, so I'm gonna hold this and do half-handed. You start by adding some oil, say somewhat of a good amount there. And then next, we're gonna add our meat to the dish, to the party. We're bringing everybody to the party. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna put some of those chicken pieces in there. Probably about half that. And just throw them in there. I'm gonna fry them up. It's all good, really. Makes everything better. So we're gonna cook up that chicken. What I like to do is, after all is said and done, I'll be putting that chicken off to the side so we can make the roux from this lovely meat juice that's in here. Now, sure, you could probably make a gumbo vegetarian, but I wouldn't advise it. It's just not the same. Gumbos usually you can add different things. You can add okra. Some people like fresh parsley. I have dried parsley, I'll add that. I mean, you improvise where you can, right? And even with like ham, I mean, this is something you can get from your homestead. You know, chicken, same thing. Ham and chicken, you make a lot of foods, a lot of meals, great meals, just from your own backyard stock. Yep, you can grow onions, you can grow celery, you can grow carrots, and you can grow peppers. And you can literally have your whole meal from everything from the farm, everything from your home. You don't need anybody to fetch that from the grocery store. Now, if you're not on a homestead somewhere, then it might be a problem. But this stuff is really great food for that cold winter night. Heck, I think I've had gumbo in the dead of summer too. It's really a good dish to have anytime. A little bit of that comfort food that everybody loves when you're Southerner or not. We have some good friends right now down in Louisiana that are visiting, that live here, but they're going to a town that their daughter actually moved to. And we've been there a couple times. Tell you, I don't know if I could live there permanently anymore. Not after being exposed to Oregon, but you never know what the future holds for the Godney family. So anyway, we're gonna put this to cooking, and then I'll cook the other batch, and we'll set them off to the side, and then fry up some of this ham, and smoked ham. Also set that off to the side, and then start on our gumbo. So I'll be back. All right, y'all. Here we go. The last of the chicken come out of the fryer. And what I'm going to do is just throw some of this ham in here. Just let it kind of, I mean, it's already cooked ham a little bit. Put a little bit of oil in there because we're going to make a roux after this. So all I'm doing is just getting a little bit of a sear on that ham and letting it kind of pull off some of that char on the bottom. Just letting it give a little bit of a flavor on there. And then once it's done, I'll pull that out. And then we'll add the veggies or after we start the roux. So next step really is the roux. All right. So this is our last round. I'm going to add a bit more oil. And this time we're going to add some of our flour. And I'd say probably about 3/4 of a cup of flour. And if you need to add more butter or butter or oil, then go for it. Because it should be kind of juicy, I think, in there. So I'm going to add a bit of butter. Just because butter makes everything better, right? So I'm going to throw that baby in there, kind of heat up and melt down some of this so it doesn't end up turning into a burnt mess. Again, it's all about the roux. So once this melts down and it looks great, and I can get it cooking down like it should, then I will show you what life is all about. Ooh, now that's looking good. Yep, I'm short, but it's all good. I'm making a roux. Now, here's where you just gotta stir. You literally just gotta stir those little, crispy bits from the meat that you cooked. Nice juices that start to form. So this is what I'm talking about. Look at that. Can you see that? Amazing. Check that out. So this is the beginning stages of a nice roux for the gumbo. Kind of get in on that. This is going to need to brown for a few minutes, so we'll be back. Now, something I like to add while it's browning up is a little bit of this filet. Again, gives it some flavor, gives it some love, and it starts giving those smells off that you really love too. Of course, it's all good. So we're gonna keep browning this until it turns into that chocolate color, or maybe looking like dog food. I'd rather say chocolate than dog food. All right, so look at that brown. It's getting there. Looks more like a latte right now. You know what my mom used to say? She used to say that if you're wearing black when you're cooking with flour, food's gonna turn out good. Because look at this. I'm all in black. And yep, that's flour on me. That's what happens. Anyway, this stuff's turning out good. All right, y'all. Look at this. It is turning into chocolate. It's kind of more like a mocha right now. But we're getting there. So I think this is getting down to the brown. And I think because this baby's saying it's hot, I think I might incorporate those veggies now. Looking chocolatey to me. Could probably go a little darker, but I'm satisfied with it. I think the flour is cooked, incorporated pretty good. You just don't want something that tastes like flour and water. You want something that tastes good, like, you know, like it's just been cooking up some goodness. So you know that this has got some of that nice smoked ham juice and some of that nice seasoned chicken juice in there. Little scribblies there. This is the good stuff right now. All right, so I'm going to add these babies to the party. Half at a time. And what that does, it kind of just gets this rolling. I'm gonna switch over to a spoon now. Just start stirring that in and sweating those vegetables down. You can see they'll kind of fry up with this juicy loveliness. Might add a little bit more. I don't know if I want to add all of it to this. I may end up just adding this to the mix. And the great thing about if you cooked too much or chopped up too much, I can always freeze that for another day. I really just want to sweat this down, let it kind of simmer up and cook up with that roux. Kind of just fry it up a bit. Oh my goodness, it's smelling amazing already. Just don't know. All right, so we'll let that sweat for a little bit, sweat it out, and then we'll add in our chicken and our meat and a few more seasonings. Okay, y'all. This is where rubber meets the road. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some of this great bouillon. Make myself a chicken broth. Now, yeah, some people, they use a shrimp broth or maybe they make their own, but today, this mama don't have any made already. So, I gotta make my own. And rather than using a bouillon cube, I use the paste. And this makes a nice chicken broth. So just add spoonfuls to about 4 cups of water. And then now I'm going to start incorporating this into the gumbo. And then we'll add the rest of the players to the party. So once I start adding this, want to see. kind of starts moving things around, thickening it up. Ooh, yeah. So that's gonna make a nice pot of gumbo when we're done with it. See how it kind of butters that up? Makes it more like chocolate. That's that look we want. Chocolate look. So here we go with some more. Just a little bit at a time. We'll stir that in there. Just making it thick and yummy, like a gumbo should be. And I know it's hard to take me seriously when I'm wearing this, but this is my Halloween gumbo week, I guess. Let's add some more to this roux and stir it up a bit. So about 4 cups for me. I'm not making stuff for an army. We're gonna need enough room to add all the meat in. But you can see it's nice and thick. Pour it out. It's really thickening up. Nice chunky sauce here. We're still cooking it. It's gonna be a great roux. Great gumbo. Now that we've gotten some of that nice chicken stock in there, now we're going to add in the chicken and the ham. So here goes the chicken into the pot. Put that in there. Kind of nice loveliness. And all the juices are good to go in there too. And then we're going to add some of that nice browned ham, that savory good stuff. And we're going to stir that in. There we go. I want to see some of that. Nice pot of gumbo. Those babies in there, stirred around. Some nice consistency there. Ooh, that's gonna be good. And I'm already tasted a couple of these pieces of chicken and meat, and oh my goodness, this is the dinner of champions. So we're going to add a few seasonings to this. I'll set you right there. We're going to add that gumbo filet. I'm going to put some more of that in there. And of course, we're going to put some really great Tabasco in here. Now, I like to use the chipotle. This makes it taste better, I think. Gives it that smoky flavor that we all love, and just a few drops goes a long way, guys. Especially, 5-second rule. Especially when you're making something that already has a few spices in it. You don't want to inflame the tongue. Let people spice it up the way they want. So, got all of these players in the mix here. I might need to add a little bit more liquid just to get it going. One other thing I'm going to add, a little bit of Worcestershire. Just a little. I know some might say, whoa, you're adding that in. Well, I didn't add any kind of seafood to it, so that little bit of Worcestershire kind of helps it with the savory. So yeah, I'm gonna add a little bit more water. just to kind of juice it up a little bit. Maybe half a cup. Because it is a stew, it's not a sauce, so you want it to boil up a little bit. And the other things that I add right now is my bay leaves and my parsley. This will help with that herbiness, I guess. It's a gumbo, and I'm a yaya. I only put about 2 or 3 bay leaves because nobody likes getting one of those in their mouth after all is said and done. Oh, one more thing I add. I add a little thyme, only because, again, this makes it taste good. Pinch of this and a pinch of that, right? So if you have fresh parsley, add it in. It'll make it taste good too. But oh my goodness, this stuff's smelling so good right now. And since it's my house, I'm gonna do a little bit of this. That's when you know it's good. When you go, So we're gonna let this sit and simmer, marry those flavors down. Really, it doesn't even need any salt. I think part of it's because I put the seasoning salt on the chicken, but always taste your food. Make sure that it's got the right flavors, the right consistency. I may end up adding a little bit more water, maybe, but I don't think it'll probably need it. See, it's got a good consistency right now. And my Instapot says, whoa, it's done. But really, I just think it needs to cook up a little bit longer, boil down. We're gonna let it sit here and just kind of simmer a little bit. I put it on the less setting on the Instapot under saute. Just let it kind of cook. If I hit soup, it's just gonna say it's too hot. But I can put it on a 20-minute soup and it'll be fine too. You don't really have to pressure cook this. It's a stew pot kind of thing. But I put it on here or in this because I like the one-pot meals. And I think it's funny that it sounds like a video game when you seal the lid. So anyway, we're gonna let it cook down, and then once it's done, probably about 20 minutes, we'll serve it over rice, and you'll be able to see the flavors and see the end result. So, a moment of truth. Here we put some rice, loveliness, into the bowl. And next is gumbo loveliness. All right. Who's hungry? Yeah, I know. I put on the lid and now I gotta steam it out, but such is the breaks. All right, check it out. We have gumbo. Yeah, baby. This is gonna go over the rice and it will be quite nice. That's what I'm talking about. Love in a bowl.